Hi there, welcome to BoxPred. I'm going to take a brief look here at a fight that's happening this Friday, the 6th of April, and it's actually for the WBC Bantamweight title. Sees the current holder of the title, Shinsuke Yamanaka, going up against Vic Darchinyan, and this fight is in Tokyo in Japan. My prediction for this fight is a points victory for Shinsuke Yamanaka. An interesting and a good reference I feel for this fight actually is Yamanaka's last fight, which was against Christian Esquivel from Mexico. I see a lot of similarities in Esquivel's game to Vic Darchinyan's. He was quite aggressive and come forward, particularly early in the fight, and then he sort of faded late. And Yamanaka stopped him in the 11th round. Although, it has to be said that Yamanaka had him down in the 6th. Then I think Yamanaka was down himself in the 7th. He got a bit careless and got countered when he was very much on the front foot, and he had Esquivel up against the ropes, might I add. And then in the 11th, he had Esquivel down twice, and it was all over. Both of these guys are southpaws. Let's just talk about Vic Darchinyan briefly. Here, the positives for him is that he has good aggression. He can use this to his advantage in this fight. Yamanaka is relatively inexperienced compared to Vic. He is 15 fights unbeaten, I believe, Yamanaka. And you know, the question is, how will he hold up against the pressure of Vic Darchinyan? Because while Esquivel was somewhat of an aggressive pressure fighter, I'm not sure he was as aggressive and as good at pressurizing as Vic Darchinyan. Because what Vic has done is throughout his career is tried to use that aggressive, awkward style to take people out of their game plan and to knock boxers off their game plan, so that bring them on, not down to his level but onto his level, I guess. Fight his fight. He, for me, needs to look for that right hand, the overhand right. He swings wildly. Unfortunately for Vic Darchinyan in this one, for me, it's going to be a case of risk and reward. He's going to have to take a risk to get a reward. I think it's going to be difficult for Vic to win a decision here because it's in Japan and he's up against, in my opinion, a superior technical boxer. But what he needs to do is try and look to stop Yamanaka, or to hurt Yamanaka enough and get him down enough that he could possibly take it on points if it went the distance. Because, if he gets some 10-8 rounds in there, you never know. Obviously, he has experience on his side, so he can use his experience. He's fought, different styles. He's been up against, he's fought at the elite level before, so it's not going to be anything new to Darchinyan. The negatives for him are that he telegraphs his punches tremendously, and he's open to counter punches. And this is something that Yamanaka is extremely good at. So moving on to Yamanaka, he is unbeaten. If you do look at his last fight against Christian Esquivel, if you're interested in this fight, I would really urge you to watch that fight. It's actually a really good fight, and looking at that fight makes me think that this is going to be a really an exciting fight. Yamanaka will fight. He's not going to just. I don't think he's the type that just goes into his shell. He's the type of guy who fights back, and that will make for a good fight here. He's a good boxer. Technically, he's a good boxer, I think. He's nice and solid there. He has power. He's got around 65% knockout ratio, and he's been stopping guys. This is to do really with his tremendous counter-punching ability. And that brings me on to his next point. He has a terrific left hand. He throws a really good straight left hand, being a southpaw. This is his main weapon here against Vic Darchinyan, is that left hand. And what he does is he comes on well late as well, which is what I'm going to move on to next. The negatives for Yamanaka are that, yes, he is sometimes open. When he got on the attack in the 7th round, like I mentioned, he left himself open to a counter from Esquivel. and ended up getting caught himself. He really dropped his hands, and he showed a lack of experience there. He had Escobar up towards the ropes, and he came with his hands down. He sort of lowered his hands, and then he thought, I've got the clear run here. I can just swing, and he got caught. He can't afford to do that against Vic Darchinyan because it could be good night. Darchinyan has the power to take him out. Both of these guys could take each other out, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is a stoppage either way. But what I think is going to happen is, Vic Darchinyan needs to start early. He needs to pressurize early and get some early success, because Yamanaka tends to come on strong late on. What he did against Escobar is he absorbed the pressure to begin with. He was very much on the back foot for the first few rounds. And then slowly he started, after countering and gaining the upper hand through counters and left hands onto Escobar, he sort of disheartened Escobar and actually started to go on the front foot himself. And by the second half of the fight, it was just all front foot for Yamanaka. And that's what I would see happening in this. I know Vic is a very good pressure fighter, but if he gets countered too often, then it does dishearten you. And Yamanaka is very good at turning the pace of the fight. So I think the first half of the fight is very important for Vic Darchinyan to set up his stall and get into the centre of the ring and moving forward on the front foot. He needs to use that aggression to get the upper hand. The longer the fight goes on, the better it is for Yamanaka for me. And that's why I picked Yamanaka by points, because I think that, Darchinyan's been stopped once by Nonito Donaire. He could be stopped again here, but I'm going to give... I think that, this will go the distance. And if he goes